Welcome everybody tonight. My name is Joan Van Buesler and I'm the director of Unitarian Universalist Justice Ohio. And we're here with a bunch of absolutely wonderful people from everywhere from Phoenix, Arizona to Cincinnati to Louisville, Kentucky, who are going to talk about how we can join together in different cities in Ohio to help support immigrant families, asylum-seeking families in transit through our state and sometimes moving into our state. I'm going to do a little welcome first, a little centering. Then we're going to hear from Sharon with Somos America. Then we're going to talk to some volunteers from Cincinnati, as well as Grannies Respond in Louisville, Kentucky. And then we're going to talk about some next steps, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how some of this might also turn into some accompaniment network work here in Ohio, and then close. So let me do a little bit of centering, and then we'll get started. I want to share with you just a very brief comment by Margaret Wheatley from her book, Turning to One Another, where she writes, "People are the solution to the problems that confront us. Technology is not the solution, although it may help, but we are the solution. We, as generous, open-hearted people who want to use our creativity and use our caring on behalf of other human beings and all life." And so with that, welcome, absolutely welcome. I want to just say one little word here about why we're working with immigrant support here in Ohio, and kind of what the inspiration for this and for accompaniment with immigrants has been. On the slide here, you will see a picture of Ruben Herrera, who was an absolutely wonderful, joyful man here in the Columbus area, spending more than 30 years working with immigrant and Latinx issues here in Central Ohio. He died last month, and it was our work with Ruben that inspired some of this, because before his death, we had been planning accompaniment training in Dayton and Cleveland, and it was also his inspiration that got us connected to Somos America through our UUA network, the Unitarian Universalist State Action Network, and that has brought about this meeting and the possibility of working together to support asylum-seeking families as they move through our state. So just a word there. Also, just a tiny little word and welcome. We got 112 people signed up now for this. 47 from Columbus, 16, maybe more from Cleveland, 22 from Cincinnati, Dayton, another 16, and even 3 from Kentucky, and a couple from other states, and I don't know the zip code. Also, I want to thank you all, because as part of the registration, you've already donated nearly $1,500 to help support this work. And we are calling this fund a memorial fund in the name of Ruben Herrera. Okay. Let me look and see where we're getting a little bit of feedback here. So please mute yourself if you haven't done so already. Okay, and Audrey, I see you're with us. That's great.
Yes, happy to join you.
Excellent. I want to just start with just a couple of comments here that I gleaned off of reading some of the Facebook pages of people who are doing this work already in meeting the families. And then we're going to go to Sharon in Phoenix. I just want to tell y'all that what we're about to do in terms of supporting families coming through here is not a neat or tidy exercise. You have to have a flexible spirit. Buses are delayed, weather happens, cancellations happen. People-to-people contact, however, is the major blessing here. And I want you all to think, as we talk about this tonight, how you would feel if you were a stranger in a strange land with little or no language skills in that land. So if you've ever been in that situation, think back to what that was like. Because a friendly face and a peanut butter and jelly sandwich can be more of a blessing even if you don't have any Spanish. So I just want to kind of set the stage there. Marilyn, Audrey, Sharon, do you have anything that you want to add to that little setting the stage list?
Well, this is Audrey in Cincinnati, and I would set to that stage. If you can't be flexible, you're not going to want to do this. We just came from the bus that was supposed to have, 18 people on it, and there were 3. So you have to be able to take the disappointments and see the joy in the 3 people that we saw tonight and accept that as a reward for your labors, because they'll love it and they'll remember it.
Thank you. Anything else, Marilyn, Sharon? Okay, Sharon, tell us the background for this. You did a wonderful job of introducing this program to the larger Unitarian Universalist network a few weeks ago. I was just wondering if please tell us how this got started and what y'all do.
What a lot of people don't know is that there have been volunteers meeting asylum seekers at the depot for more than 6 years. And that always comes as a shock. I've been doing this for 3 years. And because we are a border state, we see people coming from the asylum seekers from Yuma. And sometimes we get up from Tucson as they go on their way to California. And of course, we see quite a few coming out of Texas. Dallas to Phoenix is a 30-hour ride. And that doesn't include delays, waiting on the bus, waiting in the bus station from when they were dropped off. And when we would send people to Dallas, my heart was always very much affected because I knew that there was nobody to meet them, that they were on their own. So we gave them what we figured was about 2.5 days of food, because that's all they can actually carry too. That's quite heavy. And these mothers have little children, and the fathers now coming across with their children. So having this system that I found that was already set up was a godsend for us and a godsend for these asylum seekers. I know that when we send somebody to Florida, in Mobile, they'll be met and they've run out of food. That's a 2-day to get to Mobile. So having everyone meeting these buses has become just fantastic for us. And because we are a border state, we also see we see not only those that ICE drops off to churches here, or sometimes they dump them outside of the Greyhound bus. And then volunteers have to come in and start processing and get them to host, people that will host them. But we are seeing quite a few, even many more, coming out of California, going on to Dallas and going on to Eastern. We see many more coming from Dallas to Los Angeles to Las Vegas. In any one night, shifts, we consider a shift early morning, 7 till about 10, 10 till about 1, 1 till about 4, 4 till about 7, and then 7 o'clock on. And we cannot cover all of those shifts. And you're going to find that there'll be times where you're not going to be able to cover either. And you just have to tell yourself, we do the best that we can. Don't beat yourselves up, because it's very easy to take on the responsibility, but the responsibility needs to be shared. And that's what having extra people from the UU system coming in can help you with, because you've all been doing this for maybe up to 2 months, 3 months. You're going to burn out, and you really need to take care of yourself. And you can't be doing this day after day after day that it doesn't affect you, your health, your relationships. You have to really take care of yourself. So the more people that we can add in, the better it will be for you to have time to take for yourself. You're very lucky to be associated now with the 501c3, because money will then become a problem also. You have to buy these goods. And right now you're using friends and you're getting gift cards, but you can't go back to the well that often. You've got to have a bigger base. And by having the 501c3, they'll be able to do fundraising. And it's tax deductible fundraising. And you're not talking just $10. You're not talking $100. I just got $1,000 donation in 2 weeks ago. And within a week, that money was gone. We had already spent it for 1 week of what we send them with. Because we send them onward, they have a longer distance to go than when you're sending within your state to state to state, and within the state to another depot. So you may not have to have as much stuff that you're giving out to them. But we have to, it cost us $8.50 using 99-cent stores, and we give them a good base as they leave. That's basically what we do. We try to be there at least 2 shifts a day. Now that we have the tracker to use, I can see who's going to be there, how many are going to be there, and we'll go when there are more people there. And as we're all finding out, we have a lot of delays. So last night I went and I had people that were sitting there since 1 o'clock that couldn't leave on their 3 o'clock or their 4 o'clock. So we gave out a lot. But because I knew most of them were going to Los Angeles, coming up from Dallas, and they had a 30-hour drive already, they came together, even though they didn't know each other, but they tend to, and you've probably seen it too, they tend to form those close relationships with each other on the bus. So what we could do then was we asked them that they were going to have to share, because I did not have enough bags, and I had brought close to 30-some bags. So you'll find your way, and you've already finding your way. And again, I want to tell you how happy we are here that when we send somebody on a bus that we know they're being met.
Sharon, can you tell us how people find themselves on the bus? How do they get their tickets?
When they come in from ICE, and ICE will do a drop-off at a church, volunteers swarm in, and you have a certain amount of people that are helping them to contact family members, because family members sponsor them. They pay for the bus ticket, or if they're going by airline, they pay for that airline ticket. So from here, they will then be hosted overnight. They at least get to have a shower. They have a good hot meal, because remember, they just came from detention, probably anywhere from 1 week to 5 weeks. And the stories that they tell us about detention, that's 4 or 5 weeks without a shower. That's 4 or 5 weeks eating a burrito in the morning and water, and a burrito at night and water. So for them to get out of there and go get into a shower, sleep in a real bed, because many of them have to sleep standing up because there's so many people in the cage, and their children just wrap around their legs underneath. So very traumatic, but you see this fighting spirit within this courageousness. So once they are overnight hosted, then and they have a ticket, because the volunteers have a confirmation number. They come and drop off the host will drop them off at the depot and make sure that they have a ticket. The ticket gets to them, and then they have them go sit down. We're finding more and more that our hosts just cannot afford to continue to give them food. In the very beginning, when we started last October here, everybody had something. They had burritos or breakfast burritos, but we're not finding that. We're finding so many of them are coming with just a snack or a Coca-Cola and potato chips. So we really have had to step up our game here in finding out what they need. And sometimes they'll say, yes, we have enough. And we can kind of tell that they don't. And you don't need to speak Spanish. There should be at least one person that does speak Spanish. But if you can't, I always find a kind-hearted soul in the depot that will translate for us. And of course, it's Phoenix, so many of our people are bilingual. But all I need to know is, tengo comidas y agua por su autobus. Necesita. And all I'm asking them is, do I have food and water for your for the bus? Do you need it? And once I can crack one of them that they don't think that I'm ICE or someone else in charge, then people just come around us and we give them the bags. Now we are starting this. I'll show this to you. Can you see that little button? We're calling this the Circle of Love, and this is something among we Unitarians. I know that the NITA is looking to set up their own butterfly, actually, an orange butterfly. But right now I'm handing these out, and this way, hoping that they'll be seen along the way, and as they come off the bus, they're wearing these. Even the men are wearing these. And the little girls like to wear them. Mama likes to wear them. This way you can identify them, much easier. And it's something at the end of the night is when I pass these out. That's the fun night. The stress is gone. And you're now making connection with them. Not in a quick way to make sure that everybody's taken care of, but we hand out these little Marsala. Marsala is butterfly. Any other question or?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
Sharon, how do you propose that people in the future, and haters in particular, how will you keep them from identifying these people if they're wearing butterflies and saying, I'm an immigrant?
Well, because
we're very concerned out here because we're in an area that may not be quite as friendly as your area is to people of different color. Cincinnati is a somewhat conservative place and does have its percentage of what I hate to say are haters, and would be very happy if they found out we were in existence and that these people could be easily identified. We try and keep a very low profile where we are, purposely, just so that the haters will not know we're standing at the bus station 4 or 5 times a day or however many times. We shy away from publicity and kind of keep the invitations to join our group to people that we know and trust and have the same heart. How do you feel that, is there any advantage to them wearing this little insignia, which is going to eventually be, well, let's see, an identifier, much like the Yellow Star of David was in Germany?
You have to realize in Phoenix, we have the Patriots. Greyhound will not let them on the property. They have to be across the street. They have their bullhorns, but the migrants don't see them. The asylum seekers don't see them because once they get out of a car, they're right in the bus depot. They're in a very encased area of the bus and the system, the whole system. They don't go outside when they get into a depot. They pretty well stay together. They pretty well stay with the families, and they sit in the bus depots waiting for the next buses to leave. I was with a group that ran so far under the radar, it was difficult to get supplies. But in a way, I was kind of happy that our identities were blown, because now we can go publicly. I go all over the state of Arizona telling people of the left, whether it be a legislative district, an activist group, what's really going on here in Phoenix. And the donations do come in. And you have to have money to continue this. Ladies, this is not going to stop anytime soon.
Well, we are receiving extremely generous donations from people we have no idea even knew we existed. So this had to be by word of mouth, and we're very grateful for it. And there does seem to be a pipeline of money and gifts and cards and all that stuff coming in. And as long as we are around, we have more than quadrupled now in size in just 3 days, as far as coming public, even with a private Facebook group. We do check who comes into our group. Again, I think our situation out here is extremely different than what you
No, I'm
experience
in Phoenix.
Southwest.
Audrey, I'm in Phoenix. Phoenix
I know.
is
I hear
worse
you.
than Ohio. Phoenix is worse than Ohio, but
Phoenix,
they cannot come on the
Ohio?
property. They cannot come on the property. You're in there. They're in there. Nobody's leaving the bus depot. We went through maybe a couple weeks of them going to the churches with their megaphones. They're not doing that anymore. They kind of got tired of it too.
So you're saying that Greyhound protects you from them? They're not allowed to come in?
Oh no, they cannot come in at all. At all.
Well, in our Greyhound, which is not a hub, and I think that's an important part too. These folks come in here, they're not getting dropped off by anybody. They're getting off a previous bus. And it's our job to be able to make sure, first of all, that they get off the bus that we expected them on. And that second of all, if they have to transfer, that transfer is going to go smoothly. Because toward the end of the journey, where you are maybe toward the beginning of the journey, I would imagine, we're toward the end of the journey. And these guys have been bounced around many more times than when you've gotten to see them without any kind of direction other than they're shuffled off one bus and put on another, and they don't know if it's even the right one. So the first thing that we do, as do many of the other NITA chapters or areas, we all check. The first thing is check their ticket. Did they get off bus number 1502, and do they have to go back on bus number 1502? We're very small. And these places that you're talking about, of course, you're going to have protection. Our bus terminal doesn't protect anybody from anything. There are people who literally go in the bathroom and shoot up heroin and lay in the corner, and you walk right by them. It's small. It's not even the size of a city block. And it's not all that busy. So anybody who would want to identify us or the people that we're there to make comfortable could easily find us, and nobody would give it a second thought. People walk in and out of there all the time. There's hardly any security ever. The bus terminal that we're in is small, obvious, and there's nowhere to hide. We don't even have an alcove that we can usher these people to. And they do throw them off the bus because they got to clean the bus. And I got to go up on the microphone and tell them everybody has to get off the bus and go in the terminal. Sometimes they don't want to get off that bus. They're terrified. And I don't blame them. And we speak enough Spanish, and we are gracious enough. And the first thing we offer them is comer y agua, and, bananas and whatever else they want. We've got it for them, including clothing. But there are times, as we had the other day, where people were there for 6 hours because their bus was discontinued when they got off. Never mind that their families were expecting them the next morning in New York. They weren't going to get there till today. We have glitches, I think, that are kind of different from your initiation point with these folks. And we're trying to just put our kind of keep our fingers in the dikes, plug up all these holes of buses that stall and things don't show up and people are where they're supposed to be. And we worry about them. And you know that we worry about them. And we do try still to make every bus that we possibly can. And people like Alicia will go down there and we'll be sitting here and she'll say, well, there's a bus coming in at 11 something. I'm going to go down there. What are you going to do? Your heart wants what your heart wants. And what we want is for these people to be safe, to be fed, to be given medication if they need it, and to be able to say that part of their experience in the United States was to welcome them and make them feel okay. I think we've got a different experience, and I'm open to hearing any suggestions you might have.
Just remember that when you meet that bus, anybody else in that bus station knows what you're doing because you're specializing stereotypically the person that needs the help. And they look Guatemalan, they look Honduran, so you're already bringing attention to them. And there's nothing that you can do about that. I would say have a phone ready and 911. But we've not had the problems that they can't come into it's private property. And the
No.
police.
Well, we really haven't had very many confrontations. There was a woman the other day, and this happens very, very seldom, but she really had some resentment. She says, well, they don't even speak English. I said, well, you know, my grandparents didn't speak English when they came to this country, but they had a good life and they were productive citizens. And we had a conversation about it, and I said, well, I respect your feelings, but please respect that we're just trying to do the humane thing for other people who are in a terrible position.
Right.
And she wasn't pleased, but, you know, she was disgruntled. But again, nobody knows we're there until they come to the station, and trust me, nobody comes to that station unless they have to.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I
Thank you.
Can I speak? This is Elizabeth from Louisville.
And Elizabeth is with Grannies Respond from Louisville,
Yes.
which is another group that is meeting us.
We started in Louisville in late August, and we had some concerns as well about how people would respond to us being in the station, etc. But we found the very best thing to do was we made friends with the bus station manager, and in the beginning he was a little bit standoffish, not really sure about us, wasn't sure he wanted us there. But we just kept up our charm offensive and made friends with the people who swept the station and the ticket agents and the bus station manager. And now we're at the point where he has made room in his office to keep some of our snack kits in case people come on a bus late at night, that there's something for them to eat. Now that was a progress. That wasn't something that happens right from the beginning. But now he is very fully behind us. And we had an incident a couple of weeks ago where a very loud, racist white woman got in our faces and was screaming and yelling and trying to take video and whatnot. And he said, if that happens again, you just come over to the ticket counter, let us know, and we will take care of it. And they actually made her leave the station, even though she was a ticketed passenger. They said, you can't behave like that in our bus station. So
that's great to hear.
That might not.
We have a relationship with the staff. We've never really met the manager of the station, but the staff warmed up to us as soon as we started giving them our leftover tortillas and chicken and whatever else we had. Yes, it was bribery initially, but they came to appreciate us and look for our help when they have people that they can't get off the bus and all kinds of things like that.
The bus drivers ask us to come on the bus and talk to the people.
Yes, that's happened recently.
And that's apparently a big no-no. Nobody's supposed to get on the bus who doesn't have a ticket, but we wear identifying badges that say Grannies Respond Volunteer, and they look for us. They go, oh, I need you, even though they've never met me before, but they know our volunteer badge, and so
that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I like that idea. We'll have to talk about doing that before we get too much bigger and make up our minds. I think that's a swell idea. We've only been together now 6 weeks, and it started out real slow, and we're picking up steam, or picking up cash, or picking up all kinds of folks that I never would have even heard of had it not been for this movement and known of their generosity. It sounds like Louisville is pretty much where we're going to be headed, like that.
Audrey, Marilyn, how did you guys get started?
Marilyn, you got voice? I see she's got headphones. I don't know that she has doesn't look like she's got a voice. Well, jump in if you find your voice, my dear. Marilyn went to visit her mom in Knoxville, and she took the bus, which she hadn't done in many years. And when she had a stop in Knoxville, she had gotten off and saw the grannies there and was wondering, what are they doing? She saw them, helping people and taking them aside. And what are you doing? And who are you doing this with? And apparently they were a little bit closed-mouthed about it and protective, and I can understand why. They didn't know if she was an ICE agent. But eventually somebody told her that there's a national group and she'll have to find it. And the next thing I knew, she had been down there, and I didn't know Marilyn prior to this, but she had been down there several times evidently by herself, and a friend of hers had posted on Facebook, a friend of mine is going to the bus station. She's helping people who are asylum seekers, and she needs help. And I was recuperating from an illness, and I thought, well, this is good. I can do this. I live just 10 minutes from the bus station. So I met Marilyn, and the two of us were like a couple of addicts. She's a teacher. Didn't matter to her. She'd get up earlier and come down to the station before she went to class, and she would come down if she had a break during the day, and she certainly came down afterwards, and I was right there with her. And we tried doing that every day. Or we would sit there at night and wait for the 1 o'clock in the morning bus, and 2 o'clock in the morning. Well, we're here already. Why not wait around a little more? And then it got to be a bit much. At first, we were seeing like maybe 5 or 6 folks get off of most of the buses, even at prime time. And then it started to be 10 folks that would get off of the bus, and it was usually adults. But then we started seeing single parents with kids, either the dad or the mom, and maybe 1 or 2 children, usually the dad and the oldest boy or something like that. And it wasn't very long, I guess, in the end of our second full week together, Marilyn was at school, and I said, oh, I can do this by myself. You know, we had it pretty much down to a science. We knew what we wanted to hand out. Everything was organized, and we had little packets set up, and 18 or 19 people got off that bus. And I was almost panic-stricken that I wasn't going to be able to meet their needs. Well, from there, it just got more and more and more folks coming through. And Marilyn kept up as much as she could. I kept up as much as I could. And I was blessed to have the enlistment of my help from my neighbor and friend, Alicia, who is also in on this call, but I don't think she has a voice either from what I can tell. Alicia joined us in our third week, and she's a small business owner and very busy on her own, but I have also known her to have a huge heart. And she joined Marilyn, and I jumped in with both feet, and we started going more and more and more times. It's just grown since then, and now in week number 6, we're doing, I think, pretty well. We're about to start a dedicated Facebook page to schedule volunteers only, and we have someone else in our group who's going to handle that for us, because we've been trying to field all these things ourselves. And I got to tell you, if you're going to start this, either start with a large pool of people who are willing to roll up their sleeves, or expect to grow a little bit more incrementally.
Great.
I just want to make sure this. You said a Facebook page. That's going to be a secret group, correct?
A private group. We already have one private group, which is CETA, and then we're going to have a CETA volunteers group that will be run separately and only for volunteers, because you can't separate the volunteering stuff from the chit chat. And then we post every bus, and if we have heads up ahead of time from NITA as to how many people to expect on that bus, we post it, because we're going to know how much food we need. We go and buy chicken over at the Kroger store that's freshly made and take it to them. We make tortillas. I have a best friend who can't bring herself to go there because she knows she'd fall apart, but she makes tortillas 40 at a time.
Great. But Audrey, just remember, this is going to go on for a long time, and having this bigger group to relieve you people is going to be godsend for you too. And the
we would like for them to join us. We would like of the UU folks to join us. We have several. There's one that's right around the corner from where I live, and my best friend is part of that church.
Right.
But we want this to be a completely open to everybody who's got a heart, because we have so many people who have joined us. We don't really have any affiliations per se, but we would certainly welcome the help from the UU folks. We're all doing the same thing, and there are only so many buses. And if you want to join us, we would be happy to have your help.
And tonight we have people who are Presbyterian and UCC and Catholic, a lot of Catholics, as well as UU connections here. Let me ask a quick question. Elizabeth, how many volunteers do you have? Do you know? Elizabeth?
Yeah, yes. We have a volunteer training the first Saturday of every month at 8:30 in the morning, and we've been doing that for about 5 months. We currently have, I think, 82 active volunteers. Now, not all of them go to the bus. Some of them are part of our distribution chain,
Mhm.
and they help us to prepare the snack kits that are then handed out by our distribution czar. And every training Saturday morning, we have from 10 to 15 new people who come down and learn about it and show them the ropes. They sign an agreement, and then they're given the link to the Sign Up Genius and various other pieces of the puzzle, and then they're welcome to come down and join a team. We have leads for every bus. We meet 2 buses a day right now, every single day of the week. We meet other buses as well, but we specifically meet these 2 buses. We were asked to meet these 2 buses by our folks in McAllen, Texas, that we first connected with. We are about ready to add a 3rd team each day that's going to meet the 10:35 p.m. bus. And each team has a lead, and that lead is in charge of getting the basic supplies, and the volunteers are in charge of bringing extras. And we go, and we are prepared to provide 40 people at a time with at least enough food to get through to New York, because up until very recently, we were the last stop north. We're
Right.
so delighted that Cincinnati has come on board. We'd love for Columbus to come on board, because that is a big hub where people change buses.
Yeah.
But we were the last stop for a long time, and we had to make sure that people had enough food for 2.5 days to get through to New York or Boston or Northern Virginia or wherever they were going.
Are you still doing that? Do you give them that much to take with them?
We are still doing that. We need to rethink it. If we're going to get stops north of us, that would relieve us a little bit, because we're going through money hand over fist. Now we get money. Our GoFundMe has been wonderful. People are donating. We constantly have money dribbling in, but our distribution czar is a little overwhelmed with how much. When we first started.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Yes.
Hey, this is Bonnie from Columbus. Do you have somebody who is already volunteered to lead the Columbus effort? Or do you have what kind of infrastructure is in place in Columbus at this point?
That's what we're going to talk about later on in this session. We're right now hearing stories from Louisville and Cincinnati about what they're doing and how they got started. And then we're going to be meeting Columbus, Cincinnati, Dayton, and Cleveland groups in the future. So that will be something we deal with a little farther along. Okay.
But
okay, thank you.
We from Louisville, the other lead, her name is Sharon, and myself in Louisville, we are more than willing to travel up to help you set up, get started. We'll bring our resources. We'll bring our materials. We have a whole training thing. We have a PowerPoint, and we'd be more than happy to come and meet with whatever groups want to get started, and we will help to pass on the vital information we've learned.
I was hoping
how many volunteers do
you have? And Elizabeth, you and I will be talking about training for the 4 cities here in Ohio. Yes. I'm sorry, Audrey. Go ahead.
How many volunteers are you having down there in Louisville?
Well, at each shift for what we call for each bus, although we meet multiple buses at a bus,
right.
We have 1 lead and up to 4 volunteers with the lead. So
how large is your force to draw from? You don't have the same 4 people or 3 people going every day, every shift.
No, we have we have about 82 for the morning shift. And then there's a Catholic contingent that has taken over the afternoon. That has worked out for us to divide it that way. It isn't a religious thing. It's just connections. And there's a retired priest who handles coordinating the afternoon bus for us. And they have probably about 60 volunteers. The morning bus has about 85 volunteers. And we also share volunteers back and forth across that. If we see that nobody has signed up, we have a sign up genius that people sign up on. If we see that there's a shift that doesn't have enough volunteers, either Sharon or myself will get on the email. We have about 150 people on our email list, and we shoot an email out saying, hey, we need some help on this bus at this time, either the AM bus or the PM bus.
Right.
And can you possibly go on Sign Up Genius and sign up? So that's how we do it.
So what strikes me first is that your place obviously is a hub.
No,
we couldn't get
actually,
85 people in the Cincinnati terminal without making it look somewhat crowded.
Well, we don't have 85 people at a time.
No, I understand. I understand. But we, the active number of people, and we're very, very grateful for all the people who read our Facebook page, who've joined the group, who have wonderful ideas. Some of them are from here, some of them are not. And they're just trying to understand and trying to support us. And we love that. But we don't have the number of people to even draw from. I would like to be able to find out some way to coordinate with you about the buses that do come from Louisville up here so that we would better know what it is that you gave them. Like Nita will post what they've served or how many people they've served and how many people are on board. If someone is ill, what to expect. So we have meds because we do pass over-the-counter meds when necessary. And, all of this, we're really functioning quite well for a smaller terminal. And we're not going to get any bigger as far as the need goes other than the numbers of people that are coming through now. So
right.
I'm kind of trying to figure out what your operation would be in a smaller scale. And I think we're pretty much there. I'd love to see better coordination to find out what's coming to us from Louisville, because, as well as I do, Greyhound isn't always the most accurate. I do think that including the staff that we're friendly with, we should go make some introductions to the manager of the station. I don't think I've ever seen the person myself, but, that happens.
It sounds like it would be really great for us once we get our point people in each city to have a meeting of the point people so that we're able to hear some more detail around that. This is more of an introductory session tonight. I just want to assure the 100 people that are dialed in here right now, this is an introductory one. And as we get our point people in each city, then we can sit down together and work out some of these more granular needs. And
I do appreciate that opportunity. Thank you so much.
Yeah, because we could really need to learn from one another. If I can kind of move us along a little bit, because we'll lose people, soon after 8 o'clock. I know that. If you talk to me about what you typically include as you give out these snack bags or food, or how you do that.
Well, this is Elizabeth in Louisville. We give out snack bags because the Greyhound bus people have asked us not to give out food. And so we have juice boxes. We have a variety of snacks in the snack bag. We have peanut butter, cheese crackers. We have granola bars. We have chips. We have just a variety of things. Trail mix is very popular. And that's the snack kits. We have bottles of water. We have fruit. We always have fresh fruit. And we also hand out queso, cheese, the mozzarella cheese sticks. They really like those. And that's another good protein source. It travels well. We have diapers and formula for the babies. We have diapers and Ensure for the toddlers. We have toys for the children. For the slightly older children, teenager types, we have pads with mechanical pencils because other pencil points break too easily. So we have mechanical pencils. And we give out socks, belts, shoelaces. We still have people who get all the way to Louisville who don't have shoelaces, that they've been taken from them in the ICE detention center. They still don't have shoelaces. So we give out shoelaces, belts, hats and gloves when the weather's cold, sweatshirts when the weather's cold. We give out small fleece blankets all year long because the Greyhound buses are cold. We have hygiene kits that are made up for us that are very basic. And then we also have feminine hygiene kits that are for the women only. And then we have simple medications. Cough drops are the biggest thing we hand out, but we also have Tylenol and Pepto-Bismol for the adults, and we have ibuprofen for the children. And a nurse friend of ours who's fluent in Spanish translated it all into Spanish, all the instructions and all the concerns and cautions. So if they're literate, they can have it in Spanish, the instructions in Spanish for the children's medication.
That's great. And I'm hoping that you can share that list so that we can share it with the point people that we'll be developing in each town, in each city here.
Mm-hmm.
Audrey, do you guys have other things that you do?
Yeah, we've extended the clothing line quite a bit because people will, I think, mentioned that before, that they'll come in with a baby and the baby will be wearing the same thing it's been wearing in detention for months at a time. And we have expanded our wardrobe to include children's clothes of every size, thanks to a very, very magnanimous donor who has bought us literally clothing in every single size. We have all kinds of diapers that we put together. We put 4 diapers and wipes in a bag and off it goes. We label our bags in Spanish measurements. So it's like 4 to 17 kilograms or whatever it is that they're measuring, so that everything they can take. We were giving out kits, much like you described, like all of those items. And we realized that that's kind of a waste. You want to take all of your toothbrushes and toothpaste and put it in one Ziploc bag and everybody can take from it, and deodorant, things like that. We did learn kind of the hard way the other day that Central American women do not seem to use Tampax, as one lady took one out and thought it was going to be something to eat and was a little bit surprised to find, what is this? So we stopped putting Tampax out there, but have plenty of hygiene pads which go very quickly. They love the deodorant stuff. The clothing is socks all the way. During the cold weather, we had warm coats that we were able to gather from friends in our own closets and neighbors and handed those out. But basically, it sounds pretty much the same, but we do provide a hot meal. And we work hard to do that because we realize it's important. And it's good to know if they haven't eaten where Louisville is, they probably haven't eaten since Memphis. And it's time for them to have a hot meal. So I appreciate knowing that, and that helps us plan. We have the same variety you do in the snacks and all that stuff, and lots of things for the kids to play with, and beanie babies for the little ones.
That's great. I was going to say, how do you guys know who or how many are coming on board? How many to expect?
Well, you get a set of dice,
Right.
and you roll the dice, because we don't really know unless we keep in touch with each other, which is why I'm so enthused to be able to have contact with Louisville. Every once in a while, I will get a posting from, again, NEDA, which is an extremely large help. They'll say they'll put this number of people, and it's broken down into the number of adults and how many people, children, adults, they're traveling with, so that when they get off the bus, we have some clue. I think Louisville probably does that too. And it is very helpful, except in a circumstance like today, where everything went crazy and the buses were not the buses that were supposed to come, didn't have the right people on it, the count was wrong. But we can only go with the information that we have at the moment. And it's inconsistent, and a network like this would be a huge help to all concerned. We would really be able to keep track of everybody, and it would just be a wonderful asset.
I have a slide up right now of what a typical report in NITA, that's the National Immigration Transit Assistance Facebook page, has asked for. So this is a start of the kind of reporting that would help all of the folk along the path to know, so they knew what to expect. Elizabeth, do you guys do you get reports too that are regular, or are you surprised?
Well, both. We've just joined NITA. It took us a while to get into that. We also belong on a WhatsApp group that is primarily grannies and some other groups. And then we have a private Facebook group as well. And so we try to pass the information along. But what happens is that the buses are, you just can't rely on the information you get. As one of us, one of my leads said, sometimes that tracker just goes on crack. And you completely lose a bus, or you have two buses, or you're only tracking one bus, but they tell you there's another one coming and you have no idea when and where. So it would be very nice to have great concrete information, but we've just learned to go down and anticipate the most, and the most we've ever had is about 30 people get off one bus. So most of the time it's around 12 to 15. For a while there, it was running up to 20 on average, but it's back down to 12 to 15. But we just go with supplies for 30 people, and that way we're ready.
You got it covered.
Right.
Right. I was going to show a slide of just a kind of a typical report that I pulled offline, but it pretty much follows what you've already said, that people try to report. But those are on the NITA site, which is a private site. So it would be just the point people in each city that I believe would be on the NITA site. Is that right, Sharon? That's right.
Correct. Yes, they don't want individual volunteers posting because it's going to get too big.
Right. So the point people in each city would have that access, as well as the point people in each city would be creating their own Facebook group page, private group of folk, like you all are in Cincinnati, to handle the folk that are volunteering and to tell them what's going on. Do any of you use any of the other digital media, like Signal or Facebook Messenger or other things like that?
Well, we use Facebook Messenger in between our own conversations. Of course, Messenger is the method when you're on a Facebook group as well. Mm-hmm. So to that extent, yes. But no, not any other media, mostly because, again, we're 6 weeks old. Right. We haven't had to reach out that far, and we're overwhelmed with the response that we have just on Facebook.
Sure.
We use WhatsApp as well as Facebook. And the WhatsApp is very similar to the NITA tracker. It's just was something the grannies started before we got connected with NITA.
Okay.
And the WhatsApp just says, like at one point we got word that there was a pregnant woman who was about ready to go into labor, had gotten on the bus in Memphis, and they weren't sure if she was going to make it. And they asked each station up the line to please check on her, etc. She was experiencing some headaches and some swelling. So Nashville got a midwife to come down and check her out. She determined that she was dehydrated, but she wasn't in actual labor, and so it was okay for her to go on. She came up to Louisville, and we connected, and we made sure. This was one time we came down and met a bus we don't usually meet, because we found out she was going to be on that bus. And so we have a rapid response team that deals with emergencies, and this was one of our emergencies. So the rapid response team went down, and we connected with her. We also connected with everyone else on the bus, but we connected with her. We made sure she wasn't running a fever and the things that the midwife had told us to look for. And since she was only going on to Cincinnati, which was an hour and a half away, it was determined that she should go on, because it's important that they get to their destination and don't stop midway, because they get into all sorts of trouble with ICE if they do that. And so so she went on, and that was great. That was a great level of communication about that. Or we'll get a message that there's a 2-year-old that has no shoes coming up the line, and so we'll rush out and get some shoes, or whatever it might be.
But
those kinds of things are very, very helpful.
So we're seeing the importance of communication in a network, and that is a real lesson here for us. The slide I have up right now is the bus tracker at Greyhound, and there's even an app for it for your phone, or there's the bus tracker that is on computer too. So there's some assistance so that you can track the bus and see when it's coming and when it's really late sometimes, right?
Well, we don't rely on the actual times that they post on the schedule.
Yeah.
If you scroll down from the schedule, you get to a point where the bus is being tracked by GPS, and it's a map, and it shows you where the bus actually is. We rely on that.
Good.
Because the schedule very often is incorrect. But we've learned to know that, it's in this county in southern Kentucky. Okay, it's going to be X number of hours before it gets to us, or whatever. So we go by the GPS tracker.
Okay.
Far more than the actual schedule, because the schedule is very often wrong.
Audrey, did you?
And you can reach that part of the tracker just by clicking on the bus number.
Yeah, you search for the bus number, and then it comes up and it brings up the schedule for that particular bus. And then if you scroll down on that page towards the bottom of that screen, there's an actual map with the GPS. The bus is shown in the actual time of where it is on that map.
So we're able
to GPS.
And so that's why it's really important to have point people and some folk that are able to scroll down and look at these things and then communicate with the rest of the team.
Yep.
Really good.
Hey,
Okay.
this is Chrissy from the Interreligious Task Force.
Yes.
Central America in Cleveland.
Hey, Chris.
And we have been doing transit support in Youngstown with you folk there, that we would love to get connected to this national group. But we have found it really successful to use any messenger app. One group uses Facebook Messenger, another uses Signal, but any sort of direct messaging app so that to communicate quickly. And thank you all so much for all the wonderful knowledge and anecdotes that you've been sharing with us. It's really applicable to any city, like the type of issue that you would face.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. I do know that it's nearly 8 o'clock already, and I do know that we have, this is just an introductory one, and to see, who is willing to move forward with being a volunteer in the different cities here in Ohio. And so I kind of want to outline some possible next steps. But before I do that, I want to see if there's anything that Elizabeth or Audrey or Sharon or Marilyn's back or Alicia want to say about this before I kind of move into the nuts and bolts of getting people together.
It's an organic process to grow a team. every team we've talked with, this is Elizabeth from Louisville, and we experienced the same thing. We started out with 4 dedicated people. And for the first 2 months, it was like 4 of us and a couple of friends. And at the point that we thought we were going to get burnt out and not able to do it any longer, we were able to expand our network. We did some presentations at some churches. We did presentations at youth groups. And the word started to get out. And it's really, tell a friend type of communication of how the word gets out. It took a little bit for momentum to build. So when you go in as the point people who are going to start this, you got to know that you've got to commit to a little bit of time where it just feels like it's all on your shoulders, but it's going to grow. People are going to come out of the woodwork and help you with money or help you with supplies or help you with as a volunteer. And we strongly encourage our volunteers to take a day of the week. And that's their shift that they go to regularly. They don't have to, but that's, so people, we have our Thursday people and we have our Saturday people. And that doesn't mean that it's exactly the same people every time, but there's sort of a core group that comes at those times. And so when I usually take Saturday and Sunday mornings, I was out of town last week. And so I had to tell people, I'm not going to be there. Someone else needs to take lead. But we're able to do that within our group now. Whereas when we started, we didn't have the people to do that.
Okay. Audrey?
I am so grateful to hear you say that, Elizabeth, because that's where we are. 6 weeks in, and we are at the precipice of finally being able to see this baby come to fruition.
Right.
We have poured our heart and soul into it. And if you do, you will get your heart and soul back 1,000 times. One smile, one little beso from little kids, if that doesn't sell you on why you're there, you'll never get it. It is truly the work of human to human on the most base and wonderful level. I encourage you to become part of this group. I want us to find a way to stay together and be able to talk to each other and share this. We love you all, and we love these guys.
Okay. Oh, that's
I just
wonderful.
want to add that I've been reading some of the group chats, and everyone is kind of still, where do we do? Where do we go? And I've been responding to them that Joan will get a hold of you. Because they're looking now, they're wanting to go the next step and start connecting with each other. So, and I know that that's on your radar, Joan. So everyone that's been listening, this was the introductory we wanted you to hear, and everything that you heard here from Audrey, Cincinnati, Kentucky, we have all gone through that, and you're going to go through the same things. So just kind of giving you those heads up.
And I'm hoping that as UU Justice Ohio, that we will be able to make that a little bit easier as we get started up, because we are a 501c3. We can accept donations even online. We can do things like webinars like this to help you get organized in each city. And we have some folks that know a little bit about digital work to assist in this. I'm not it. I'm not the one that knows all the digital stuff, but we do have folk that can help that. So that's something that we can do to make it a little easier to organize a larger group so that people don't get burned out.
And another thing I think that's really important, this is Elizabeth again, is that each group is going to do things a little bit differently. There's going to be uniqueness of each group. This is truly a grassroots operation, and we need to embrace that how Cincinnati organizes themselves does not have to be the mirror image of how Louisville organized itself or how Phoenix organized itself, but rather each group is going to become an organic group and organize and go forth with some basic principles shared, but there doesn't need to be a lot of micromanagement about making us alike. We all can bring our sense of what's needed and figure out what the best practices are, but it doesn't have to be regimented. And I think that's one of the beauties of this, is that it has grown so organically that it gives each team that freedom to do what is right for their city.
Perfect. Excellent. There are a couple of little things, though, that we can do to help move things along. I do have all of your emails and your names. So I will split those up into the different areas, the Cleveland, Cincinnati, Columbus, and Dayton areas. And I will ask if there's anybody who feels called to become a point person to help organize the communications, to contact me. You should all have my email from your registration. That's the UJO email. But also, I will send that out as well. And then once we get a couple of point people, and Cincinnati already has point people and they have a team, but the other 3 cities don't. Then, you know, when we figure out who the point people are, then we contact Sharon and Nita. And we talk about creating a Facebook page. This may happen in different orders, that's fine too. Getting people onto Bus Tracker. And we'll have a list of all the folk from this call for the point people to work with. We've already started collecting donations of money that will help us get supplies. And then I know some of the congregations are already asking me, where do we, you know, what should we go out and get? What should we get? You know, we know diapers, we know, you know, non-perishable food items, things like that. But they're already asking what they can give and where they should take it. We can help find some congregations that would be places for storage, if that's needed. But that's I want to talk about with the point people, because, you know, each of you will have some different needs on that. And then scheduling folk to volunteer and meeting the buses. So, you know, it's just kind of the basics of how to get that thing going. And did I miss something in there? Elizabeth, Audrey, Sharon.
Well,
No, I think you're thorough.
yeah, and we in Louisville are firmly committed to, we will travel to anywhere in Ohio to help get things started. We will be happily come up and be, you know, answer questions in person, come up and spend a weekend and help the group get started. So.
And you're welcome to share our contact people with anybody who's interested that are close by, like maybe Dayton wants to come down for the day, or somebody from Columbus wants to come down and participate at a visit to the station here. That might be beneficial to them, and we'd be happy to have them.
Excellent. So when I send these emails out to the different cities, can I include, Audrey and Elizabeth, your contact information as well?
Yes, you're welcome to.
Yes, please do.
Okay, excellent. Okay. I'm also going to send this PowerPoint, the whole PowerPoint, out to all of you, so
Great.
that you will have all this information that we've been, you know, flipping through on the slides. Okay.
Wonderful.
And one of the things that I want to mention here in this final slide is that we do have a recorded webinar about accompaniment, which may be the next step. I know some of you in Dayton are already engaged in accompaniment work, and that's helping people, immigrants that are already in your city, when they have to go visit ICE, when they have a hearing, and how to take them and be good companions when they're facing the system. And we do have a recorded webinar that was conducted by Ruben Herrera before his death, as well as Laura Wagner of the Unitarian Universalist Massachusetts Action Network, who've been doing this for years. So I'm going to include that link for you, because as we move forward with some of the work of meeting the people on the buses that are coming through, we'll also be thinking about those people that are settling in our cities and how we can be the very best of neighbors for the folk that are now going to be part of our communities. I hope that makes sense to y'all. Okay.
Completely.
Very good then. And you will have my email address, okay, because it's right there on the slide as well. And that way we can move forward. So I do want to tell you that I will not be sending this out immediately. Well, I'll be sending the webinar out immediately, but some of the other things I can't send immediately because I'm going to be gone to a conference for 2 days. But we will move this forward as soon as humanly possible because the people are coming now and the buses are there now. And we want to move ahead ASAP. And I will send the Cincinnati folk information to Audrey as soon as humanly possible. So Audrey, you'll get that right away.
Thank you so much, Joan. We really appreciate this forum.
Right. Well, let me then close because I know that there's a lot of people that need to leave, and I want to be cognizant of the time. We have a lot more questions that we'll have to work through, and we'll be doing some more online training and some gathering where we can ask questions, whether we do that in person or online. But there will be more forums for that, for people that feel the call to be part of this ministry. And I want to just quickly, any final words before I close here, guys? Okay.
I think all that can be said has been.
Bless you. Then I'm going to close with another line from Margaret Wheatley, who says that the cure for despair, and we all do feel a lot of despair around this time, but the cure for despair is not hope. It is in discovering what we want to do about something or someone we care about. Because there is no power for change greater than a community discovering what it cares about. And the fact that you've been here today tells me you care. So thank you so much, all of you. And I hope you have a wonderful evening. And I will also share the chat with people as well, because there's so much rich things going on in the chat too. Thank you.